The most powerful decisions are often made in quiet moments alone. Silence is where your confidence is born and your energy is protected. What if silence is the one thing you've been ignoring that could actually help you gain more control over your life? What if staying quiet gives you the advantage you've been missing? What if, instead of reacting fast, you learned how to sit still and let things unfold without forcing them? In a world where everyone is trying to be the loudest, maybe real power belongs to those who say the least. What if silence could help you make smarter decisions, master your emotions, and stop wasting energy on things that don't matter? What if choosing silence could put you back in control of your thoughts, your time, and your life? If you're tired of overreacting, over-explaining, and overthinking, then maybe this is the shift you need. Silence isn't weakness, it's a way to win without noise. This is how you turn silence into strength and let life finally work in your favor. Now let's dive in. Number 1. Use silence daily to gain full control over yourself. Silence is one of the most powerful tools you have as a human being. Not because it is flashy or loud, not because it gets attention, but because it gives you something much more important: control over your mind, control over your words, control over your actions. You don't need noise to grow, you need clarity. You need discipline, you need space in your mind to think, to process, to build yourself from the inside out. And silence is how you make that space. Every day, the world is pulling at you from every direction. Notifications, messages, arguments, opinions, problems, it's all noise. And if you don't step away from that noise on purpose, if you don't decide to be silent for a little while each day, it will drown you. You won't even know who you are anymore. You'll just be reacting to life instead of creating it. That's the difference. When you live in silence for even 10 minutes a day, you shift from reacting to responding. You shift from being pulled to standing firm. And I'm not talking about silence where you're distracted or half-thinking. I'm talking about real silence. No phone, no distractions, just you and your thoughts. At first, it might be uncomfortable. That's okay. Most people run from silence because it forces them to face the things they've been avoiding. But that's where the power is. That's where the growth happens. When you sit in silence and you listen to your thoughts, you start to realize what's been controlling you. You start to understand the stories you've been telling yourself. You start to take back the wheel. Silence teaches you to sit with your emotions instead of reacting to them. When someone says something that upsets you, your instinct might be to fire back. But if you've trained yourself to value silence, you learn to pause. You learn to wait, and in that space between feeling and reacting, you gain strength. You gain control, and that control changes your life. Because now, instead of living based on other people's words and actions, you live based on what you decide. You don't need to respond to everything. You don't need to explain yourself to everyone. You don't need to win every argument. Most of the time, silence speaks louder than anything you could say. But more importantly, it protects your peace. It keeps you in control of your own emotional world. It gives you a sense of power that doesn't rely on outside approval. Think about the moments in your life when things went wrong. Most of the time, it wasn't because you didn't know what to do. It was because you acted too quickly. You said something you didn't mean. You reacted out of anger, out of stress, out of fear. Now imagine if in those moments you had trained yourself to be silent, to pause, to breathe. How many mistakes would you have avoided? How many relationships would still be strong? How many opportunities would still be open? Silence is not weakness. It's strength under control. It's the ability to sit still when everything in you wants to explode. It's the ability to hold your ground when someone tries to shake you. It's the decision to listen instead of shout. And that kind of strength, that kind of emotional maturity, it doesn't just show up one day. You have to build it every single day. By practicing silence, start small. Wake up in the morning and sit in silence for 5 minutes before you check your phone. Before you start your routine, just sit, breathe, think, feel what's going on inside you. Pay attention to what your mind is doing. Are you anxious, Are you focused? Are you calm? Notice it, and just let it be. No judgment, just observation. That's how you build awareness. And awareness is the foundation of self-control. Then during the day, when something triggers you, someone disrespects you, something frustrates you, pause. Choose silence. Even if it's just for a few seconds. Give yourself space to think. Ask yourself what you want the outcome to be. Ask yourself how you can stay true to who you are in this moment. That's the power of silence. It puts you back in charge. It reminds you that you're not here to be controlled by the world. You're here to lead yourself. And when you practice that kind of silence long enough, it changes you. You start to speak differently. You start to walk differently. People notice something about you. They can't always explain it, but they feel it. They feel your calm. They feel your strength. They feel your control. And that earns respect. Not because you demanded it, but because you became it. When you live in noise, you lose your sense of direction. But when you live with silence as your anchor, everything becomes clearer. Your goals become sharper. Your values become stronger. Your decisions become wiser. And life, as chaotic as it may be, begins to flow in your favor. Not because the world changes, but because you changed. You stopped letting noise run your life. You chose clarity. You chose discipline. You chose to take full control of yourself. And self-control is everything. It's the root of every meaningful change in your life. If you can control your words, your emotions, your reactions, there is nothing you cannot do. But you can't control what you don't understand. And you won't understand yourself if you never stop to listen. That's why silence is so important. It's not just about peace. It's about power. Power over your mind. Power over your behavior. Power over your future. People spend years chasing success without realizing that their biggest obstacle is their own lack of control. They work hard. They stay busy. They keep moving. But they never slow down long enough to listen to themselves. And when you don't listen to yourself, you make choices that aren't aligned with who you are. You burn out. You feel lost. You feel disconnected. Not because you're broken, but because you're too loud to hear your own voice. Silence is how you come back home to yourself. It's how you reconnect with your values, your purpose, your strength. It's how you reset your focus when life pulls you in every direction. And it's how you build the kind of mindset that wins not just in business, not just in goals, but in life. You don't have to figure it all out in one day. Just start. Start with one silent moment. Start with one pause before you speak. Start with one deep breath before you react. And keep doing it. Every day. Because silence isn't just a break from the noise. It's a tool you use to take your power back. A tool you use to stay steady when life gets hard. A tool you use to gain full control over yourself. And when you've got that kind of control, life starts moving in your favor. Not because it's easier, but because you've become stronger. Number 2. Stay quiet often to let your actions speak clearly. In a world where everyone is trying to be heard, where people rush to explain themselves, prove themselves, and defend themselves, choosing to stay quiet is not about being passive. It is about choosing a different kind of strength. The kind that does not rely on noise or approval or validation. It is about placing your energy where it matters most, on your actions. What you do always tells the real story. People will forget what you said, but they will never forget what you did. Your effort, your habits, your discipline, your results. Those are the loudest things about you. When you stay quiet more often, you protect your energy. You stop wasting time trying to convince others. You stop defending your worth with words. You start building it through your behavior. Talking about your plans, your ideas, your dreams may give a quick burst of satisfaction, but it does not move your life forward. The real progress happens when you stay focused on doing the work. When you show up day after day without needing to announce it. When you let your progress show up before you ever talk about it. There's power in silence, because it keeps you grounded. When you are constantly explaining yourself, you're giving away control. You are putting your focus on how others see you. But when you stay quiet and act with intention, you stay rooted in who you are. You become the kind of person who doesn't need to say much because your life already shows what you stand for. Your character shows in how you treat people. Your values show in the decisions you make. Your discipline shows in the results you build. No need to talk about it all the time. Just keep doing the work and let people see it for themselves. Most people talk because they are unsure. They talk to cover their doubts. They talk to fill the gaps. But when you're confident in your path, you don't need to speak on it constantly. You know what you're doing. You know why you're doing it. You're not looking for reassurance or applause. You're focused on moving forward. Quiet doesn't mean inactive. Quiet means precise. It means every move you make is chosen with intention. It means your time is spent building, not explaining. There's a kind of respect that only actions can earn. You can't talk your way into that kind of respect. You earn it when people see your consistency. When they see that you do what you say. When they notice that you've kept your head down, stayed the course, and built something real. That's the kind of strength that sticks. It's the kind people trust. Not because you said you were great, but because you showed up every single day and did what needed to be done. Your silence also creates curiosity. It makes people wonder what you're working on. It makes them pay attention not to your words but to your movement. That quiet presence can be powerful. When everyone else is shouting for attention and you're focused on building, you stand out in a different way. Not by trying to be seen, but by creating something worth noticing. Not by being louder, but by being more consistent. And in those moments when people expect a reaction, when they push you, when they try to bring you into drama or competition or arguments, your silence speaks volumes. It shows that your energy is reserved for higher things. It shows that your attention is not for sale. It shows that you know where you're going and you're not going to get distracted by noise. Every time you choose not to engage in something that doesn't help you grow, you're protecting your path. Every time you choose action over argument, you're reinforcing your purpose. It's easy to talk about what you're going to do. It's harder to do it consistently without needing to tell everyone about it. That's what separates the ones who stay stuck from the ones who grow. Real change is built quietly. No shortcuts. No shortcuts through talking. Just doing. You don't need to broadcast every improvement. You don't need to explain every change. Keep building. Keep improving. Keep moving. The results will speak louder than anything you could say. If you look at the people who achieve long-term success, the ones who build strong foundations, you'll notice they're often not the loudest in the room. They're not out there trying to prove they're right every time. They're too busy building. They understand that you don't need to prove yourself when you're making progress. Let others argue. Let others brag. Let others explain. You stay quiet and keep rising. It's not about hiding. It's not about shrinking. It's about being deliberate. It's about choosing what deserves your voice and what doesn't. Not everything needs a response. Not every opinion needs a reply. Not every doubt needs an explanation. Some things just need to be left alone while you work on what actually matters. Let your growth respond. Let your peace respond. Let your consistency respond. That's how you lead with power. When you're quiet, you listen more. You observe more. You learn more. You start to see things that others miss because they're too busy talking. You start to understand people better. You start to recognize patterns. You develop patience, and that patience gives you an edge. While others rush to speak and react, you wait, you study, you prepare, and then when it's time to act, you do it with accuracy. That's not luck. That's the result of staying quiet and paying attention. Your actions are your message to the world. How you treat people, how you spend your time, how you handle pressure, how you show up when no one's watching. That's who you are, and you don't need to talk about it. Just live it. Just be it. The right people will see it. The wrong people don't matter. You won't always be understood. That's okay. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to stay true to your values and your vision. You're here to live in alignment with what matters to you. And sometimes that means staying quiet when others expect noise. Sometimes that means holding your tongue when it would be easier to fight back. That discipline, that control, that silence, that's your strength. Every day you choose to act instead of talk. You build trust in yourself. You prove to yourself that you don't need attention to keep going. You prove to yourself that you can handle silence, that you can work without praise, that you can keep showing up because it's who you are, not because you're trying to be seen. And that kind of identity, that kind of self-respect, can't be taken away. It's built through silence, through action, through discipline. You can't fake results. You can't fake consistency. You can't fake effort. Those things take time, and they show up with or without words. So stay quiet, not because you're weak, but because you've got work to do. Because you know that when your actions are clear, your message is clear. And when your message is clear, you don't need to explain it. People will see it. People will feel it. People will know. Number 3. Hold back words to protect your inner mental strength. There is a deep kind of discipline in knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. Not because you have nothing to say, but because your peace means more than winning a moment. Holding back your words doesn't mean you are avoiding truth. It means you are choosing what truly deserves your energy. Not everything needs a response. Not every opinion needs to be addressed. When you learn to hold back, you're not giving up power, you are preserving it. You are keeping your mental space clear from unnecessary tension, from battles that only drain you and never build you. When your mind is constantly engaged in arguments, explanations, and emotional reactions, it becomes scattered. You can't focus on your goals if your energy is being drained by every situation that demands your voice. That's why restraint is powerful. It keeps your mind intact. It keeps your emotions in check. It keeps you in charge of yourself. Every time you hold back, you're telling your inner world, I choose what matters. I decide what stays. Some words feel good in the moment. They feel like release. They feel like justice. But they cost more than they're worth. The emotional aftermath, the regret, the wasted time, those are heavy prices. And if you keep paying them, you never have enough strength left to build what really matters. Your inner mental strength is like a resource. If you spend it on every confrontation, on every disagreement, on every careless comment, you end up depleted. But when you hold back, you stay full. You stay strong. You stay steady. There's courage in silence, especially when everything inside you wants to react. Especially when you feel misunderstood or insulted or pushed to your edge. That's where the test is. Can you pause? Can you breathe? Can you see that saying something might win you the moment but cost you your peace? That's when you grow. That's when you start developing real inner strength. Not the kind that needs to be seen, but the kind that anchors you when the storm comes. The strongest people don't react to every emotion. They don't let others pull them out of character. They don't hand over their mood just because something went wrong. They've trained themselves to stop and think before they speak. They've learned that most problems don't need more words. They need less. They've figured out that silence is often the wisest choice. Not because they're afraid, but because they're focused on what's important. When you hold back words, you're not avoiding the truth. You're just refusing to be controlled by emotion. You're choosing to respond, not react. That response might come later, with clarity. Or it might not come at all. Either way, it comes from strength, not impulse. And that's the difference between a scattered mind and a solid one. You can feel angry, frustrated, or hurt, and still choose to hold back. That's not weakness. That's mastery. Your mental space is where everything starts. Your decisions, your habits, your goals. If that space is full of noise, you lose direction. You lose patience. You make choices that don't reflect your values. And all of that can be avoided when you hold back words that don't serve you. Think about how much stronger you'd be if you saved your voice for things that matter. If you stopped explaining yourself to people who don't care. If you walked away from arguments that only waste your energy. Sometimes silence is the best boundary. It says, I see what's happening, but I won't be pulled into it. It says, my peace is more important than proving a point. It says, I'm strong enough to walk away without losing myself. And when you practice that enough, it becomes who you are. You stop reacting to the world. You start leading yourself through it. You stop feeling the need to fight every battle. You start choosing the ones worth your time. Protecting your inner mental strength is not about isolation. It's about direction. It's about choosing what helps you grow and what pulls you back. It's about understanding that not every situation deserves your input. Sometimes the smartest move is to say nothing, to let the noise pass, to stay still when the world is chaotic. That's how you keep your clarity. That's how you stay connected to your purpose. The more you hold back, the more power you build inside. That power turns into clarity, into focus, into resilience. When you don't waste words, you don't waste energy. When you don't waste energy, you stay sharp. When you stay sharp, you make better choices. You rise while others argue. You build while others complain. You move forward while others stay stuck in noise. You don't owe a response to everyone. You don't owe an explanation to every question. You don't have to justify every step you take. If it's right for your growth, your peace, and your vision, that's enough. Let your choices speak. Let your consistency speak. Let your life speak. When you hold back words, you allow your results to do the talking. And those are the loudest, clearest words of all. Train yourself to pause, to feel the heat in the moment and still choose silence. Not forever, just long enough to stay in control. That pause protects your strength. That pause builds your discipline. That pause gives you the edge that most people never develop because they're too quick to speak, too quick to defend, too quick to react. But when you wait, when you hold back, you give yourself room to think clearly, to act wisely, to stay aligned with who you truly are. There's nothing to prove when you know your direction. There's nothing to explain when your actions are in order. There's nothing to defend when your life reflects your values. Let others think what they will. Let the moment pass, without your voice in it. Not every challenge deserves your words. Save them, guard them, use them where they count. That's how you protect your inner mental strength. That's how you grow in silence. That's how you become unshakable. Number 4. Let silence guide you to make wiser decisions fast. In a world that pushes you to decide quickly and respond instantly, silence becomes your greatest advantage. When everything around you is moving fast, when voices are loud and distractions keep coming, it's the quiet moments that hold the real answers. Silence is not the absence of action. It is the presence of awareness. In silence, you see what you couldn't see before. You hear what you used to miss. You notice patterns. You understand people, and most importantly, you understand yourself. Every decision you make shapes your life. The direction of your growth, the quality of your relationships, the strength of your focus, all of it depends on your ability to choose wisely. That wisdom doesn't come from pressure. It doesn't come from rushing. It comes from stepping back, from turning down the noise, from choosing to pause and think, not react and regret. That pause is where silence comes in. Not just external silence, but internal stillness. The kind where you quiet the thoughts that rush, the doubts that shout, the fears that chase you. In that space, your mind clears. Your values speak louder. Your purpose becomes obvious. People often mistake silence for delay, but the truth is, silence is the fast track to clarity. It saves you from the cost of bad decisions. It keeps you from making choices you'll need to fix later. When you're quiet, you're not stuck. You're preparing. You're observing. You're asking yourself the right questions. What really matters here? What do I want long term? What will help me grow? What feels right? Not just right now, but for the future I want to live. Silence trains you to stop reacting and start responding. In reaction, there's pressure. In response, there's purpose. A reactive mind is a noisy mind. It jumps from one emotion to another. It acts without thinking. It chooses based on fear, or pride, or impatience. A responsive mind is calm. It weighs options. It sees the bigger picture. It moves with reason. That's the kind of mind silence builds. You don't need hours of meditation to access this. It starts with a small practice. Just a few seconds of stillness before you act. A moment of silence before you answer. A breath before you decide. That space gives you power. It gives you the ability to check in with your goals. It gives you the strength to pause when everyone else rushes. And over time, those small moments lead to better outcomes. Stronger relationships. Clearer paths. When you live in constant noise, you lose your inner voice. You forget how to trust your own judgment. You lean too much on opinions. You start making choices that aren't yours. But when you protect silence, you reconnect with that voice. You remember what matters to you. You build the confidence to choose what's right, even when others disagree. That confidence doesn't come from shouting louder. It comes from listening deeper. The greatest clarity often comes after you stop talking, after you stop explaining, after you stop forcing answers. When you allow silence to lead, answers rise naturally. You stop trying to control everything. You start trusting the process, and that trust brings peace. It brings certainty, not because you know everything, but because you know yourself. You know what you value. You know what direction feels right, and that's enough to move forward with strength. Many people look for advice in every corner. They ask everyone for input. They search endlessly for confirmation. But the real wisdom is already within them. It's just hidden behind the noise. Silence helps you access it. It helps you filter what's useful and what's not. It helps you find what aligns with your character. You stop following trends. You stop copying what others are doing. You start making choices that reflect your truth. Wise decisions are not about knowing the perfect answer. They're about knowing what serves your growth. They're about knowing what you're willing to stand for. That kind of decision-making needs silence. It needs room. It needs space to think, feel, and evaluate. You can't do that when your attention is being pulled in every direction. That's why people who value silence often move faster in the long run. They skip fewer steps. They waste less time fixing avoidable mistakes. They build with intention. When you bring silence into your daily life, even in small ways, you become sharper. You start picking up on details that others miss. You notice what's not being said. You catch the energy of a room. You see warning signs early. You sense opportunities before they're obvious. That awareness makes your decision-making faster and more accurate. Not because you're rushing, but because you're tuned in. Silence helps you see the full picture before you move. Silence also keeps you connected to your emotions without letting them control you. You don't have to ignore how you feel, but you don't have to let those feelings drive every decision either. When you sit with silence, you start to separate the surface emotion from the deeper truth. You feel the anger, but you don't let it speak for you. You feel the fear, but you don't let it decide for you. That separation gives you freedom. It gives you strength. There are moments in life where one decision can change everything. In those moments, silence becomes your strongest ally. It clears the mental fog. It slows down the rush. It helps you ask, what's the outcome I truly want? That one question, asked in silence, can save you months or even years of going in the wrong direction. It can help you walk away from something that looks good but doesn't serve you. It can help you say yes to something that's hard but right. The truth is, you already know the difference between the decision that feels forced and the one that feels aligned. But the noise makes it hard to hear that knowing. That's why silence matters. It connects you to that knowing again and again. And the more you listen to it, the more confident you become in using it. You stop second-guessing. You stop needing approval. You trust your process because you've seen how silence leads you right every time. Even in high-pressure situations, silence gives you the edge. When others panic, you stay grounded. When others rush, you slow down just enough to choose well. That small difference leads to better outcomes over time. You avoid traps. You handle setbacks with composure. You stay true to your purpose, and you do it all without needing to shout or prove yourself. Your decisions speak for you. When you live this way, people start noticing. They see that you don't move just to move. You move with intention. You act with reason. You decide with wisdom. Not because you're perfect, but because you've learned to pause, to wait, to listen, to think. That's what silence teaches. And that's the habit that gives you the power to make wise decisions quickly. Decisions that move you forward, keep you aligned, and protect your peace.
Number 5. Choose silence first to stop reacting to small things. Every day you are met with situations that challenge your patience. People say things that annoy you. Events unfold in ways you didn't expect. Delays happen. Mistakes happen. Others act in ways that don't match your values. And in those moments, there is a strong pull to react, to speak quickly, to correct, to complain,
to defend. But the person who chooses silence first builds a different kind of strength. A strength that does not crumble under pressure. A strength that does not depend on the behavior of others. It's a strength rooted in self-control. Choosing silence is not weakness. It's the mark of someone who is aware of how much energy they have, aware of what matters and what doesn't, aware of how every small reaction chips away at their focus. Most people think they lose energy by doing big things. The truth is, they lose it by reacting to little things all day long. A comment here, a delay there, a small inconvenience that grows into an argument. These are the hidden drains. These are the traps that keep you stuck in the same cycle of emotional exhaustion. Silence gives you the space to notice the moment before the reaction. That space is everything. It's where awareness lives. It's where your values have a chance to guide you instead of your emotions. In that space, you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "Is this even worth my peace?" That one question changes your life. Because when you choose silence in that moment, you protect your energy. You keep your focus. You stay aligned with your purpose. The small things are not small because they happen quickly. They're small because they don't deserve your full emotional weight. You were not born to waste your strength arguing with someone who isn't listening. You weren't made to lose sleep over things you cannot change. When you react to every minor thing, you let your emotions run the show. But when you choose silence, you're reminding yourself that you are in charge. You decide what gets your attention. You decide what is worth your voice. Choosing silence is a decision that puts you in the driver's seat. You're not being silent because you don't care. You're being silent because you've chosen to care about what really matters. You care about your growth. You care about your focus. You care about how you show up in the world. And you care enough not to waste time on battles that don't matter. That kind of clarity gives you peace. That peace allows you to be present with what's important. You might be tempted to respond, to defend yourself, to explain. But before you do, ask yourself, what will this bring me? Will it add clarity? Will it move me forward? Or is it just feeding a habit of reacting? Silence helps you interrupt those patterns. It helps you build a new response. A response that is not based on habit or emotion, but based on your purpose and your direction. There's something powerful about walking away from a moment that tries to pull you into drama. It's not about ignoring the world around you. It's about choosing your battles wisely. Not every moment requires a reaction. Not every mistake deserves a comment. Not every delay is an emergency. When you treat everything as urgent, you stay in survival mode. Silence helps you leave that mindset. It helps you step into a mindset of peace and progress. Imagine how different your day would feel if you didn't react to the small stuff. If instead of arguing with the traffic or the line at the store, you stayed calm. If instead of snapping back at someone's rudeness, you stayed still. That stillness protects your mood. It keeps you thinking clearly. It allows you to focus on what you can control. And that's how momentum builds. Not from reacting, but from choosing wisely. Silence also shows maturity. It shows that you don't need to prove yourself in every moment, that you don't need to be right all the time, that your worth is not tied to every opinion you hear. Maturity is about knowing when to speak and when to hold your ground quietly. And most of the time, the wiser choice is not to speak louder but to speak less, to act with purpose instead of reacting with emotion. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you are training yourself to be more thoughtful, more intentional. You are building a habit that helps you think before you speak. And the more you practice this, the stronger you get. You become someone who doesn't get shaken by small things. Someone who holds their power without needing to show it all the time. Think of the times in your life when reacting made things worse. Maybe a moment when you said something you didn't mean. A moment where you lost control and then regretted it later. Silence would have given you space to see it clearly. Silence would have helped you pause and ask, is this really worth it? That pause is where real growth happens. It's where your discipline is tested. And the more you choose silence in those moments, the more powerful you become. Silence also helps you listen. When you're not so busy reacting, you can hear what's really being said.
You can notice the emotion behind the words. You can hear what someone else is trying to express without jumping in with your own frustration. That ability to listen deeply builds stronger connections. It helps you respond with kindness instead of frustration, and that creates better outcomes, both personally and professionally. Choosing silence is not about being passive. It's about being strategic. It's about protecting your time, your energy, and your mind from things that don't deserve your attention. That protection gives you more fuel to invest in your goals, more mental space to plan your next move, more clarity to handle what actually matters. Small things will always show up. That won't change. What changes is your response. What changes is your ability to stay calm in the storm. What changes is your discipline to choose peace over chaos. And that change starts with one simple habit: choosing silence first. That one habit can shift your entire day. It can shift the way you deal with stress. It can shift the way you relate to others. And over time, it shifts the way you lead your life. Don't underestimate the power of a calm mind. A calm mind sees things clearly. A calm mind notices what others miss. A calm mind makes better choices. And a calm mind is built in the moments when you choose silence instead of reacting. That's where control begins. Not over the world, but over yourself. And that kind of control changes everything.
Number 6. Train your mind through silence to master your emotions. Emotions are a natural part of being human. They rise quickly and sometimes without warning. Joy, anger, fear, sadness, frustration. All of them come and go depending on what's happening around you. But if you want to live with strength, you must learn to master them. You must learn how to feel them without letting them take over. And the first step in mastering your emotions is learning to train your mind through silence, not through arguments, not through chaos, not through noise, but through the discipline of quiet observation. Silence creates a space between what happens and how you respond. That space gives you control. You may not control the world outside of you, but you can shape the way you think, and when you shape your thinking, you begin to shape the way you feel. In silence, you begin to recognize your triggers. You begin to see the difference between the things that matter and the things that simply distract. This awareness is where power begins. Most people try to control their emotions in the middle of noise. They keep busy. They talk over their stress. They move quickly from one thing to the next, hoping the feeling will pass. But it never truly leaves. It stays under the surface until it bursts again. Silence does the opposite. Silence slows everything down. It makes you pause. It gives you room to understand what you are feeling and why. It helps you sit with your emotions instead of running from them. This is how you train your mind to handle anything. If you never sit still, your mind runs on autopilot. It becomes a servant to whatever emotion is strongest at the moment. Anger says speak. Fear says hide. Sadness says give up. But when you begin to practice silence, you take back the role of the leader. You train your mind to pause before it reacts. You give yourself a moment to choose clarity instead of confusion. This is what separates those who grow from those who stay stuck. Silence is not just about being quiet with others. It's about creating inner stillness. You may be in a room full of people and still carry silence within you. That kind of silence keeps you focused. It stops you from being pulled into other people's emotions. It allows you to protect your energy and make decisions from a calm and thoughtful place. The more you practice this, the more confident you become in handling life's surprises. Training your mind doesn't happen in one day. It's a consistent effort. Every morning, every evening, even for a few minutes, choose to sit in silence. No distractions, no phone, just you and your thoughts. At first, you might feel restless. That's natural. Your mind has gotten used to being busy. But if you stay with it, the restlessness fades. What follows is clarity, and with that clarity comes power. You begin to recognize that you are not your emotions. You are the one observing them. When you can observe an emotion without acting on it, you are in control. You don't need to shout when you're angry. You don't need to panic when you're afraid. You don't need to fall apart when things don't go your way. That doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop being controlled by what you feel. It means you now have space to respond in a way that aligns with your purpose. We live in a world that values loudness, fast answers, quick opinions. But real strength lives in quiet understanding. It lives in the person who can face difficulty with calm. It lives in the one who can take a breath before speaking. It lives in the individual who can feel a storm inside, yet remain steady in their actions. That steadiness is built in silence. Each time you choose silence over immediate reaction, you are teaching your brain patience. You're teaching yourself to wait for a clear signal before you act. That waiting sharpens your discipline. It makes your responses more effective. People begin to notice that you don't overreact. They see you as grounded, and more importantly, you begin to feel it yourself. You start to trust your own mind, and that trust becomes unshakable. A quiet mind is a strong mind. It's a mind that does not jump at every opinion or criticism. It's a mind that does not crumble in the face of challenge. It's a mind that listens carefully before deciding. That kind of mental strength can only be developed when you create the habit of silence. Not once in a while, but every day. When the day begins, choose 5 minutes of quiet. When you feel overwhelmed, step back and go still. When emotions start to rise, breathe and let the silence guide you. You'll notice over time that your emotions don't control you like they used to. You begin to handle frustration with more grace. You deal with pressure with more focus. You respond to negativity with more clarity. These are not small changes. They are the foundation of leadership, the beginning of emotional intelligence. The reason some people stay calm in storms while others fall apart. It doesn't mean you'll never feel strong emotions. You will. But when you train your mind through silence, you are no longer at their mercy. You can acknowledge anger without feeding it. You can face fear without letting it stop you. You can feel sadness without sinking into it. That kind of mastery gives you freedom. Freedom from emotional chaos. Freedom to stay clear on your path, even when everything else seems uncertain. This isn't about being cold or distant. It's about being emotionally mature. Silence helps you create the space needed to respond with thoughtfulness instead of impulse. That habit becomes a tool you can use in every area of your life. In conversations, in business, in relationships, in decisions. You begin to trust that you don't need to raise your voice to be heard. You don't need to act out to be seen. You don't need to rush just to feel like you're doing something. Silence becomes your strength, your edge, your advantage. When the world feels too loud, step back. When your emotions feel too strong, go quiet. Not because you're avoiding reality, but because you're preparing yourself to face it wisely. Each time you do this, you train your nervous system to stay balanced. You train your attention to stay focused. You train your energy to stay centered. And in that training, you become stronger than the emotion. You become someone who leads with purpose, not reaction. Someone who holds their ground not through force but through calm control. You don't have to wait for silence to find you. You must create it. You must choose it even when things feel urgent. That choice gives you back your power. You learn that silence is not the absence of emotion. It's the space where emotions are understood and transformed. It's where confusion turns into insight. It's where doubt turns into decision. That's the power of training your mind through silence. It shapes you into someone who leads your life with steady hands and a clear heart.
Number 7. Practice being silent to hear what truly matters most. Every day there are voices pulling at your attention. The world is filled with distractions that keep your focus scattered. From the moment you wake up, there's noise, notifications, messages, headlines, conversations, thoughts rushing in before you even take a breath. And in the middle of all that noise, it becomes harder to hear what actually matters. That's why silence is not just a peaceful moment, it is a powerful practice. When you choose silence, you create the space to hear what you've been ignoring. You make room for clarity, for focus, for truth. You must understand that silence is not just about the absence of sound. It is a decision to step away from the outer world so you can connect to your inner world.
There is wisdom inside you, but you'll never access it if you keep filling every gap with noise. When you speak less, when you pause more, you begin to notice the thoughts that truly belong to you, not the opinions you've picked up from others, not the expectations society tries to place on you, but the voice deep inside that speaks only when things get quiet enough to listen. Practice silence, not once in a while, but as a habit. Sit in the early hours when the world is still. Walk without music in your ears. Resist the need to always reply right away. In these moments of stillness, something powerful happens. The noise of everything that doesn't matter begins to fall away. You start to feel the weight of what actually does. You recognize what you've been avoiding. You notice where your attention has been scattered, and you begin to see clearly what decisions must be made. There are truths you've been missing, not because they're hidden, but because you've been too distracted to see them. When you remove the noise, the important things rise to the surface. You begin to understand your own values. You begin to see which habits are helping you and which are not. You get honest about the relationships in your life, the use of your time, the direction you're heading. None of this happens when you're surrounded by constant stimulation. It happens when you take the time to be silent and listen deeply. It's in silence that you realize how often you've been reacting instead of choosing, how often you've filled your days with busyness to avoid facing yourself. Silence brings awareness, and awareness leads to change. Most people live without ever stopping long enough to reflect on what they're doing and why. They follow routines, chase goals, respond to pressures, all without checking if it aligns with what they really want. But when you pause, when you turn down the volume on the world around you, the answers start to reveal themselves. Sometimes, silence shows you that what you've been chasing isn't what you actually need, that the goals you've set were never really yours, that the people you've been trying to please aren't truly aligned with your values. This realization is not always easy, but it is necessary. You can't build a meaningful life on noise. You need stillness to build something real. When you practice silence, you learn to trust your own inner guidance. You stop needing constant validation. You stop chasing approval. You become rooted in who you are and what you stand for. Being silent is not about withdrawing from life. It's about returning to what's real. It's about separating the essential from the non-essential. Most of what steals your energy and attention on a daily basis doesn't actually move your life forward. When you're constantly reacting to every message, every demand, every bit of content, you don't leave space for deep thinking. But silence creates that space. In silence, you can think about your life on a higher level. You can ask the right questions. What do I want? What do I value? What is worth my time and energy? And the answers don't come from outside. They come from within. But you'll never hear them if you don't listen. Practicing silence is how you begin to truly hear. You start to notice how your body feels. You notice how certain decisions drain you while others lift you. You notice what excites you and what leaves you empty. This level of sensitivity isn't available when your mind is always overloaded. It becomes clear only when you quiet the outer world and tune into the signals coming from within. You don't need to escape your life to find clarity. You just need to create small, consistent moments of quiet. Moments where you stop talking. Moments where you stop consuming. Moments where you just breathe and listen. In those moments, you find a deeper kind of confidence, the kind that comes from knowing what truly matters to you. Not what's popular, not what's expected, but what is meaningful to you as a person. This practice also teaches you how to be present. In silence, you become more aware of the current moment. You hear the tone of your thoughts. You feel the tension in your body. You notice the details you usually miss. This presence helps you reconnect to your environment, to the people around you, and most importantly, to your own purpose. It helps you stop rushing. It helps you stop operating on autopilot. Instead, you begin to live intentionally, not reactively. In silence, you also develop emotional intelligence. You learn to listen without interrupting. You learn to observe without judging. You become more aware of how you affect others and how they affect you. This awareness builds stronger connections.
People trust you more when you listen deeply. They feel seen. They feel respected. That trust creates better relationships both personally and professionally. Being silent also makes you more powerful in your actions. Because when you speak, your words carry more weight. You're no longer just filling space. You're choosing what to say and when to say it. That kind of control over your communication makes you more effective. It shows discipline. It shows maturity. It shows that you've taken time to think before you speak. Don't confuse silence with weakness. It takes great strength to hold back when the world pushes you to respond. It takes courage to sit with discomfort instead of escaping into distraction. But every time you choose silence, you build resilience. You show yourself that you don't need to react to every trigger. You show yourself that you can stay grounded no matter what's happening around you. And here's something else. Many people are afraid of silence because they're afraid of what they might find. They're afraid of what they'll have to face. But avoiding yourself will never lead to peace. Facing yourself, even in silence, even in discomfort, is what brings true freedom. It's how you stop running. It's how you stop pretending. And it's how you start making choices that reflect who you really are. Practice silence not just as a habit but as a way of life. Use it as a daily check-in. Use it as a reset when life gets too loud. Use it as a filter to separate what matters from what doesn't. The more you practice, the more you'll find that clarity isn't found in doing more but in listening more. Listening to your heart. Listening to your thoughts. Listening to the signals life has been trying to send you. When you hear what truly matters, you begin to live on purpose. You stop wasting time on what's meaningless. You stop settling for less than what you know you're capable of. That awareness, that clarity, comes only when you make silence a part of your routine. Because in the stillness, truth rises. And when truth rises, it changes everything.
Number 8. Keep your focus by walking away in total silence. There are moments in life when everything seems to demand your attention. Every person, every notification, every thought, pulling you in different directions, constantly trying to capture your focus. In those moments, it's easy to lose your sense of direction. It's easy to get caught up in the noise. And when that happens, your focus weakens. You start spreading your energy thin, not making any significant progress in any one area. But what if I told you that the way to regain control, to regain your focus, is by walking away in total silence? It's in those quiet moments, when you distance yourself from the noise, that you can truly sharpen your focus and regain your sense of purpose. Walking away in silence isn't about avoidance, it's about regaining your clarity. Sometimes, the world is too loud. The demands of others, the pressure of deadlines, the constant rush of information, it's overwhelming. But when you take the step to walk away in silence, you create a break in the noise. You give yourself permission to reset, to breathe, and to reconnect with what truly matters to you. When you step away, you're not retreating. You're resetting your mind. You're choosing not to react impulsively, but to regain your inner strength, your center, and your focus. When you're constantly in the middle of the noise, you become a part of it. You're no longer in control of your actions, thoughts, or decisions. You're simply reacting to the stimuli around you. But by stepping away, by intentionally walking away in silence, you reclaim your autonomy. You regain control of your mind and your focus. You start choosing how to spend your energy instead of letting the world dictate it for you. This doesn't mean abandoning your responsibilities or relationships. It means taking the time you need to focus on what truly matters. You give yourself space to think, to breathe, and to make deliberate decisions. This is especially true in moments of stress, when the pressure builds up, when the weight of tasks, commitments, and expectations becomes too much. Stepping away in silence becomes the most powerful thing you can do. It's not weakness, it's strength. In these moments, when you're tempted to react out of frustration or overwhelm, silence is your tool. It gives you the opportunity to pause, to think through your options, and to choose the best course of action. Instead of responding out of stress, you respond with clarity and calmness. Walking away in silence is also about protecting your peace. In a world where everyone wants something from you, where demands are endless, you must learn to prioritize your mental and emotional health. This doesn't mean abandoning others. It simply means setting boundaries that allow you to remain focused on your goals, your well-being, and your values. In silence, you can hear what your body and mind are telling you. You can recognize when you need rest, when you need clarity, and when you need to step back to gain perspective. But there's something even more powerful about walking away in silence. It allows you to become more present. When you disconnect from the distractions and the noise, you create space to focus on what truly matters in the present moment. You start to notice the things that are easily overlooked when you're caught up in the chaos. You notice the people around you. You notice the quality of your thoughts. You notice the opportunities that you may have missed when you were too busy reacting to the noise. When you practice walking away in silence, you make a commitment to stay present, to stay focused, and to stay aligned with your goals. Sometimes, the best thing you can do is simply walk away and allow yourself the time to process. There are moments in life when you're faced with difficult decisions, when the pressure to make a choice is overwhelming. In these moments, it's easy to rush into a decision out of fear or anxiety, but when you walk away in silence, you give yourself permission to delay that decision. You allow yourself the time to think deeply, to weigh your options, and to make the best choice. Walking away isn't about avoiding decisions. It's about making sure that when you do decide, you do so with clarity and confidence. One of the greatest benefits of walking away in silence is that it enables you to create space for creativity. When your mind is constantly bombarded by noise, it's hard to think creatively. But when you step away from the chaos and enter a state of stillness, your mind becomes more open to new ideas. You're able to think outside the box, to come up with innovative solutions, and to approach problems from a fresh perspective. Creativity thrives in silence, because it's in the quiet moments that new thoughts have the freedom to emerge. When you give yourself permission to walk away from the noise, you give yourself the opportunity to tap into your creative potential. Walking away in silence is also a form of self-discipline. It requires you to resist the urge to react immediately, to ignore the noise, and to stay true to your purpose. It's easy to get swept up in the hustle and bustle of daily life, to follow the crowd, and to let your actions be dictated by external pressures. But walking away in silence is a practice of staying true to yourself. It's a way of honoring your own needs and priorities over the demands of the world around you. It's about taking a step back so you can move forward with greater purpose. In a world where everything is moving faster and faster, silence becomes a tool of empowerment. When you walk away from the noise, you empower yourself to make better decisions. You empower yourself to act with intention. You empower yourself to take control of your life. Silence is not weakness. It is the space in which strength is cultivated. When you step away in silence, you give yourself the opportunity to align your actions with your values. You make the choice to stop reacting and start living intentionally. Every time you practice walking away in silence, you become more resilient. You learn to control your impulses. You learn to manage your stress. You learn to prioritize your energy. You stop letting the distractions of the world control you. Instead, you control your response to the world. In silence, you find the strength to stay focused on what matters most. You find the clarity to make the decisions that will take you where you want to go. And you find the peace to continue moving forward, without being thrown off course by every little thing that tries to pull you away. Walking away in silence is not a sign of retreat. It is a sign of strength, clarity, and focus. It is the powerful act of choosing to control your own mind, to protect your peace, and to stay grounded in your purpose. In a world full of noise, silence is the most powerful tool you have to keep your focus and move forward with intention. Number 9. Grow your power silently by not showing your struggles. There's a strength that comes from going through challenges without needing to announce them to the world. It's the quiet strength that doesn't seek validation or sympathy. In a society that constantly shares every detail of their journey, there's a certain power that comes from keeping your struggles to yourself. It's not about pretending that difficulties don't exist, but it's about choosing how and when to reveal them. By not showcasing every setback and every hurdle, You protect your energy and allow your growth to take place in a more authentic way. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Your actions, your results, and your persistence will speak for themselves. The temptation to share your struggles is understandable. It's natural to seek support and understanding when things are difficult. But there's a deeper form of strength that comes from learning how to handle your challenges in silence. When you grow your power silently, you give yourself the space to focus solely on overcoming what's in front of you, without getting distracted by the opinions of others or the desire for recognition. There's a profound wisdom in this silence. It gives you the ability to preserve your mental and emotional resources. It allows you to keep pushing forward without unnecessary outside interference. Every time you choose to keep your struggles to yourself, you build a certain level of resilience. You teach yourself to deal with challenges without needing validation or attention. And the more you do this, the stronger you become. It's like a muscle that gets stronger with each time you use it. You develop a sense of inner strength, one that doesn't depend on others' approval or sympathy. It's a power that grows quietly, away from the eyes of others, and when the time is right, you'll emerge stronger than ever, with a track record of overcoming without needing to show every step along the way. Silently growing your power also protects you from the distractions that can come from seeking validation. When you share every moment of your struggle, you open yourself up to the opinions of others. Some may offer support, but others may judge or criticize. You might even be tempted to compare your journey to others, which only pulls your focus away from what really matters: your growth. But by keeping your struggles private, you maintain control over your narrative. You stay focused on your goals, your progress, and your own standards for success. You no longer need to measure yourself against others or worry about how your struggles might be perceived. The only thing that matters is how you overcome, how you persist, and how you rise. This doesn't mean that you should never seek support or ask for help. Everyone needs help from time to time, but it's about the way you approach your struggles. It's about choosing to face them with the mindset that you can handle them, that you have the strength and ability to overcome, without constantly seeking outside affirmation. By not showing your struggles, you also stop allowing them to define you. Your struggles don't make you weak, they make you stronger. And when you stop sharing every detail of your difficulties, you protect that strength, allowing it to grow more quietly and more steadily. The power of growing silently lies in the ability to move forward without seeking attention for every step you take. Every challenge you face becomes a building block for your growth, but you don't need to announce every time you face a difficulty. Instead, you keep your focus on the next step. You focus on how to move forward, not how to explain where you've been. This allows you to build your power in a way that's both deliberate and efficient. You focus on solutions, not on dwelling on the problems. You don't let the weight of your struggles hold you back, but instead you let them shape you into someone stronger and more capable. Another benefit of growing silently is that you prevent yourself from getting caught up in the drama of sharing every hardship. Sometimes when we talk too much about our struggles, we unintentionally amplify them. We make them seem bigger than they are, and in turn we give them more power over us. But when you grow silently, you keep your struggles in perspective. They remain just that, challenges to overcome, not burdens to carry forever. Keeping your struggles to yourself doesn't make them disappear, but it gives you the mental space to approach them more effectively, without the emotional weight of constantly reliving them through conversation. There's also a deeper level of self-reliance that comes with growing silently. You stop waiting for someone else to give you permission to succeed or to feel strong. You stop looking for external recognition and start recognizing your own power. By handling your struggles without broadcasting them, you remind yourself that you have what it takes to succeed on your own. You trust yourself more because you know that you can endure, that you can figure things out, and that you can rise from any setback. And that trust in yourself is one of the most powerful things you can cultivate. When you know you can handle life's difficulties without needing constant reassurance, you begin to trust yourself more, and that trust builds an unshakable foundation of inner strength. As you grow your power silently, you also learn to respect the privacy of others. You begin to recognize that everyone is facing their own battles, and just as you don't need to share your struggles with the world, others don't either. This respect for silence becomes a part of your character. It teaches you empathy and understanding.
because you realize that struggles are not always meant to be shared. Sometimes it's better to quietly support others without needing to know the details of their battles. By embracing the quiet strength of growing silently, you also become a more compassionate and thoughtful person, one who understands that strength doesn't always have to be loud. The greatest aspect of growing your power silently is that you become the embodiment of your progress. Your success will not be defined by how loudly you announce your challenges, but by the steady, silent persistence that drives you to overcome them. Your strength will be seen in your results, not in your explanations. When the time comes, you won't need to tell anyone about the obstacles you faced. Your success will speak for itself. You will have grown in ways that others may not even fully understand, but they will feel your power, your confidence, and your resilience. That is the true power of growing silently. In a world where everyone is eager to share their battles and triumphs, there is something truly special about the quiet strength that comes from working through your struggles without broadcasting them. It's in the silence that you build your power, not through words but through action, persistence, and resilience. You allow your results to speak for themselves, and in doing so you become a true testament to the strength that comes from quiet perseverance.
Number 10. Stay silent longer to watch life work in your favor. In the hustle and bustle of life, we often feel the need to constantly speak, react, and take action. But what if the most powerful thing you could do for your success, your peace, and your happiness was simply to stay silent? What if instead of rushing to explain, defend, or act, you allowed yourself to be still and observe life as it unfolds? Staying silent longer gives you the chance to step back, breathe, and watch life work in your favor without the interference of constant chatter. This is a choice that can transform how you experience the world and how the world responds to you. When we stay silent, we create a space where life can move freely. Think about how often we get in our own way by overthinking, over-communicating, and forcing solutions. Silence offers us the rare opportunity to trust the process and allow things to happen naturally. By simply stepping back, we give ourselves the chance to see things clearly and avoid acting out of impulse or fear. In this space of silence, life can work its magic. The answers we need often come to us when we stop talking, stop pushing, and let the universe align things for us. But in order for this to happen, we must have the courage to stay silent. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that we need to be constantly active, that every moment requires our input, our intervention, or our voice. But this is a misconception that can lead to unnecessary stress and missed opportunities. When you stay silent, you allow life to come to you, to reveal its truths, and to show you the way forward. This doesn't mean inaction or avoidance, but rather a deeper trust in your own ability to navigate life with a calm and centered mind. The world is constantly moving and shifting, but by staying silent, you allow yourself to become more attuned to those movements, ready to act when the time is right. In staying silent longer, you also give others the opportunity to step up. When we're constantly speaking or taking charge, we rob others of the chance to contribute and show their capabilities. By stepping back and allowing silence to lead, you open the door for collaboration, for others to express themselves, and for new perspectives to emerge. You might be surprised at what unfolds when you allow space for others to shine. Sometimes the best solutions come not from what we say, but from what others bring to the table when given the room to do so. Silence in this sense isn't just about doing less, it's about creating space for the right things to emerge. In addition to offering space for others, staying silent longer helps you preserve your energy. Our words, thoughts, and actions all require energy, and when we're constantly talking or trying to control situations, we burn through our resources. Silence gives us the chance to recharge, to reflect, and to make decisions from a place of clarity instead of exhaustion. It's in the silence that we can gather our thoughts, listen to our inner voice, and come up with a plan that aligns with our true desires and purpose. The more we stay silent, the more we protect our mental and emotional energy, ensuring that when we do speak or act, we do so with intention and strength. Another benefit of staying silent longer is the way it allows us to observe life without judgment. When we're constantly speaking or reacting, we often miss the nuances of what's happening around us. We can be so focused on our own perspectives and opinions that we fail to see the bigger picture. Silence, on the other hand, allows us to step back and view things with fresh eyes. It encourages us to let go of our assumptions and expectations, allowing us to truly see things as they are. In this clarity, we can make better decisions, build stronger relationships, and find opportunities that we may have otherwise missed. Staying silent also helps us to cultivate patience. In a world that values instant gratification and quick results, silence teaches us the power of waiting, of being patient, and of allowing things to unfold in their own time. This patience is not about passivity or complacency, it's about having the faith that things will work out without forcing them to happen on our timeline. When we stay silent, we learn that life doesn't need to be rushed. We can trust that the right things will come to us when the time is right, and that rushing through life only causes unnecessary stress and disappointment. Silence teaches us that there is power in waiting, and that often the best things are worth the wait. Moreover, silence allows us to reconnect with our inner selves. In a world filled with constant noise and distraction, it's easy to lose sight of who we are and what we truly want. Silence gives us the space to reflect, to meditate, and to tune into our own needs, desires, and values. It helps us clear away the external noise and connect with the deep wisdom that resides within us. In silence, we find our true purpose and gain the clarity to pursue it. The more we practice silence, the more we strengthen our connection to ourselves, allowing us to move through life with greater confidence and self-assurance. In the end, staying silent longer allows life to work in your favor because it helps you align with the natural flow of things. By letting go of the need to constantly intervene, explain, or fix, you open yourself up to the possibility that life knows best. You give yourself the chance to experience the world with greater depth, to connect with others more meaningfully, and to move through challenges with grace. Silence doesn't make you passive, it makes you powerful. It allows you to step into your true strength and trust in the process of life. By staying silent longer, you create the space for the right opportunities to come your way and for the right people to show up at the right time. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. By staying silent, you give yourself the chance to let life unfold in its own time, allowing everything to work in your favor. When you give space to life, you allow yourself to experience the beauty of life's natural rhythms without forcing or manipulating outcomes. And in doing so, you'll find that everything you need, everything you desire will come to you when the time is right.